Hey folks, it is time to give you episode 8 of Mike's Top 10 of Tabletop, and this game, I think the other games that I have are pretty much universally enjoyed and didn't get a lot of critique. Like, a lot of people love those games. Number 8 for me is a game called Abyss, and while a lot of people really do love this game, and it's just about to get a new expansion in the near future, I think maybe in the next month or so, it's supposed to get a new expansion. A lot of people gave this game a lot of flack for being what they considered an overproduced card game. And I get that. I get it because of the fact that when you really break down the mechanisms of this game, it is a really simple card game. The overall theme is that the Lord of the Abyss, this undersea kingdom, has died. And like a lot of feudal lords who didn't have an heir, there's a power vacuum, and there's a lot of people trying to position themselves to be in a good place to take his throne. You are actually playing as somebody who is trying to take that position, and you're trying to curry favor with the different Lords of the Abyss to try and get that spot. Now, really, this breaks down into doing one of three things in your turn. You are basically going to explore the depths, you're going to seek the council, or you are going to recruit a lord. And the way that works is a very simple card mechanism in each case. Exploring the depths is literally flipping over cards, and it has this really neat kind of, I guess we call it a bartering technique, because basically what happens is that when you flip the first card over, the player to the active player's turns left gets to say whether they want it or not, and if they do, they actually purchase it from the player who's exploring by giving them one pearl. And this game it's really cool because it actually does have little pearls that you use as currency. So you'll give a pearl if they want it. If not, you move on to the next card, and it goes around the table, and everybody gets a chance to get that card. And if you get to the end of the board, you're basically going to get whatever that card is and a free pearl. These little cards are basically breaking down into factions, and I won't go into all of that because this isn't so much a review, it's just sharing with you a little bit about why I love this game. The factions are neat, and it goes with the theme, and there are things like the shellfish, and the jellyfish, and the crabs, and they all have their own little place in the world. Like the crabs are the military, and the squids and the octopus are the politicians, and yeah, I do think that's kind of hilarious. And you're basically trying to get these little allies who will then, on your behalf, kind of go before the lords and say, no, this guy's cool, you're going to want to side with him, he's going to be the next Lord of the Abyss. And so you're trying to gather up as many of these little allies as you can. Seek the council. Basically, any card that isn't selected in that exploring the depths goes into the council, and it breaks down one spot for each faction. And at any point, if you notice that there's a lot of a certain faction, especially if it's one you're looking for, you may want to do what's called Seek the Council, which basically means you grab the entire stack of one faction from the council. This is a good way to get a lot of cards. Now, granted, they might not be great because, again, nobody wanted these cards in the first place, but it's a good chance to get a lot of cards in hand to try and get the lords you're looking for. And then finally, like I said, your goal is to get the lords on your side to basically vouch for you to be the next Lord of the Abyss. And you're using your allies to try and get them. Now, it's really interesting because this is kind of where a set collection comes in, because each lord has their own little specifications. Like, some people want only allies from their faction. You can only use cards from their faction to get them. Some require you to have multiple cards from different factions. Like, you can have at least one card from their faction, but you need at least 2 other factions to back you as well. It sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is. Again, it really is just exploring or seeking the council to gather up the cards you need to get the proper amount of points to get those guys. Now, this game is a little fidgety. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of, when it comes to scoring points, there's a lot of stuff going into that, because there's actually a little scorecard that's required, and it breaks down, okay, if you get this amount of allies, and this amount for lords, and this amount for keys, and there's a lot of stuff going on that I'm not going to talk about here. I'm really going to use this as an opportunity, as a springboard for you guys to try and look into this game. I will say that it's really my wheelhouse. If you've listened to our podcast before, you know that I enjoy games and I gravitate towards games that have a really low barrier for entry. They're really going to be for people that anybody can pick this up within minutes. I've played this game with people who really have never played a game like this, any kind of strategy or hobby level board game before, and within minutes they're like, oh, okay, I get this. At the same point, though, the understanding of when to explore, when to go to the council, when to recruit, all of this stuff does have that kind of next level thinking to me. It's one of those games where it's really easy to get, but it takes a bit to understand when to do what and who is important for you to recruit and who isn't. I love this game. I love it a lot. It's really simple. It's really easy to pick up, but it's a lot of fun. And here's universally, whether people like it or don't, there's one thing that everyone will agree on. It is the fact that the artwork, which, if I know me, I'm going to have cycling throughout the background of this video, because this artwork is phenomenal. In the most recent Dice Tower Awards, I was one of, I can't even tell you how many people who, when it came down to best artwork for the past year, said Abyss, bar none, had the best artwork. And even people who don't especially like this game love this artwork. It's really cool. It really, really explores the theme well. The characters of the individual factions really come out in this artwork. I think it's a lot of fun. It has a very tactile moment because, like, every time you're trading of pearls to different players, you have that satisfying clink as you drop the pearl into somebody else's they have little seashells, and you just that little clink, and it really works well. I'm definitely going to be picking up this expansion at some point because I love this game. However, instead of going into more about the expansion that I don't know much about yet because it hasn't been released, I'm going to talk about our honorable mentions. Now, if you've never seen one of these videos before, honorable mentions are basically games that I think are similar, or at least vaguely in the same kind of genre as the game I'm talking about, but it didn't make the list mostly because I don't own it, and I'm only using games that I own in the collection right now. I couldn't talk about set collection, I couldn't talk about seizing power, I couldn't talk about making sure that you have the right guys on your side in order to complete a goal without selecting Lords of Waterdeep. Now, as a longtime D&D player myself, I really gravitate towards Lords of Waterdeep because I've played in Forgotten Realms before. I know Waterdeep. And the idea of playing as one of the guys behind the scenes, calling the shots and making things happen in Waterdeep is really interesting to me. That theme is really something that grabs me. I like the idea of playing a D&D game where you're not playing as the adventurers. You are, in fact, what would generally be considered an NPC in a D&D game. You're the guys sending the adventurers off to do battle and to find stuff and to explore various dungeons and such like that. I think that's hilarious. Especially, I think that it's really kind of cool if you can get the little meeples, the little D&D meeples that people have created that actually look like the little warrior, the little thief, the little wizard and such, and the little cleric. I think that it's really, really great just to have that little collection of guys at your bidding to go do the job. Much like Abyss, people who love this game really love it, and people who don't like it really dislike it. But for me, I definitely think it's worth checking out. It's definitely worth a pickup. I think that there is a lot of good theme there, and really it's a very good worker placement title. So check out Lords of Waterdeep, check out Abyss, and definitely check out the previous videos in this series, and look forward to seeing episode 7, where I look at the next game in the series, which is gonna be Once Upon a Time, which is a fantastic title if you like telling stories. So definitely come back, check out that next video, and I hope you guys look at these titles and get excited about gaming, because this stuff is fantastic.